Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Angela Brennan and today I'm bringing you Spellbinders Clubkits of the month March 2025. So I start off with a small die of the month and later on I also show you the large die of the month. The small die of the month comes with quite a few dies, but I've got two main themes here. You've got the fishing theme as well as the golf theme, mainly to make cards for the men in your life. So Father's Day, birthday cards for granddads, fathers, brothers, sons, grandsons. So it's perfect for that. And there's quite a few amazing sentiments that come with the Better Press of the month, the Glimmer of the month, as well as the Clear Stamp of the month. And I do use all of those sentiments in the cards in today's video. I'm just starting off by die cutting all of the components with colored card, and I'm going to show you how I put each of the components together. It's easy enough to do. These dies are not complicated to put together. You just need a little bit of patience and you need to pick out the colors. But once you know how they all are put together, how they all can get compiled and stuck together, you'll see how easy it is to do. So this die of the back of the male physique, it comes one. So I just do two because I want to show one of a father and a son, or you can do two brothers or a father and a grandson and a grandfather and a grandson. So it's quite different compilations you can do based on the sentiment that you want to do. There's quite a few sentiments in this month's club kits, especially with the caboodle. So that's if you buy the deluxe caboodle, you get the bonus item, and the bonus item comes with some really nice sentiments. That's a better press plate, which I did some hot foiling and I used that here, and they go so well with the theme of golfing or fishing. It's really nice to have those complementary sentiments that go so well with all of these dies. As with any product, the first time you put them together, it can be a little bit daunting, but once you use them once or twice, then you're so comfortable with it, and then you can get more creative with how you put them together. There are a couple of different hats here. There's one a baseball cap and one a hat. I prefer the baseball cap, and I tend to use that more in the cards that I've created rather than the hat. Not too keen on the hat because I tend to use more of the baseball cap. And here it's all about choosing the different colors, and you got your boots to go with it as well. I think it's really cute, and you can think of creative ways of using them as well. I really hope you find the video on how I show you how to compile all of this useful, and I'd really like to hear from you. And I've tried to go not too fast but not too slow either, to show you how you put these dies together, how you assemble them to create the various characters to compile the cards that you want to create. Do let me know what you think. I'd love to get some feedback. All of the products I've used, I've listed as the best as I can in the description below. But if you've got any questions, do let me know and I'll get back to you. If you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And when you do subscribe, remember to press that notification bell so you're alerted when new videos are uploaded. For this die set, I did die cut all of the components with colored cardstock. And the next one, I do it all in white cardstock, and I do some coloring with my inks. So it's really up to you. So if you don't have much colored cardstock, you can die cut everything in white cardstock and use your markers or your inks to color them. Now that I've done most of the compilation, I'm going to put all of my dies in a little container. I tend to lose my little dies sometimes. I end up looking for it taking ages to find the little components. So it's good to have a little container to put all your small dies in it while you're doing your creation. I don't put it away immediately because sometimes I want to do an extra of something. And this is the golf set. So it's a very simple one, this one. It's literally got the golf ball, the golf club, and a little thing to hold the golf ball, and a little shadow for the hole. So not very many components for the golf compilation. Easy enough to put together. And I just make a couple of cards with this to show you how you can put them together. Everybody likes golf, so it's one of those things that can you use all the year through. So you can use it in many birthday cards as well, or even retirement cards for that matter, because many people, once they retire, they end up doing quite a lot of golfing. So this set comes with a nice die, a die that can do a landscape die cut. So I use it quite a bit here. So I use that mainly for the water, but you'll see me use it for the golf, and I also use it in my large die of the month to do a delineation between the sky and the ground. So I did it with die cut it with some colored card, but I also added a little bit of Mermaid Lagoon Distress ink to give it a little bit of an additional color to that die cut landscape. And now I'm just putting the little logs that's going to be like the foundation for the dock, that I'm just going to add that there, and then I'll put that straight rectangle that I've die cut here with the lighter brown to just make that the base of the dock where the two gentlemen will be standing on. So easy enough to put together. So once you figure out what you want to put together, you're just going to start doing a bit of a background. I'm just doing a bit of a background here that goes above the sea line or the water line, and this is like a background of the sky. So it's a bit of a, either you can make it a dawn, maybe probably more of a dawn, because you tend to do fishing when in the early in the morning. So I'm doing a bit of a, just when the dawn breaks, if you like. I'm trying to create that with various distress inks. I've got Fired Brick, Ripe Persimmon, and Dried Marigold here. I'm making it really light. And distress inks are a little bit harder to blend than distress oxide inks. But because I don't use my distress inks as often, I decided to use them because the ink pads are nicely juiced up. So I can just use them quite easily without having to re-ink them. And here I'm just compiling it by putting that landscape with the dock and just cutting the excess off. So this is on a card that is slightly smaller than the card base, which is an A6 card that I'm using. And an A6 card is common card size in the UK, which measures 14.8 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters. And I'm just compiling all of that fishing line to hide on the front of each of the male die cuts or cutouts, and I'm going to just adhere that. I do use a little bit of dimensional tape to adhere all of these characters onto the card front, because there are so many layers of the card. I thought using the dimension tape will give it a little bit easier for it to settle onto the card. If not, it gets a little bit bumpy if you're going to use just glue or adhesive, double-sided adhesive tape to put it on. I do like Spellbinders Club Kits. I really think their monthly club kits are really worth subscribing to, because all of the various club kits, they complement each other so much, and this month is no exception because all of the sentiments coordinate with the theme so well. And that's why I store all of my club kits by month, because they're by theme, unless of course they've got lots of generic sentiments that can be used over many cards. For example, this month's clear stamp and die of the month, I probably keep it near my craft space because it's got quite a lot of generic sentiments that I can use for cards for family. And here I'm putting the sentiments, going to be using it from various club kits. So you'll see me use the sentiments from Clear Stamp of the Month, Better Press of the Month, Glimmer of the Month as well. And the Better Press of the Month sentiments, I'll show you how I put them together when you do my next video, where I'll be showing you where I use the Better Press, but I tend to do a lot of hot foiling with them because I do like hot foil sentiments. And here's the Clear Stamp and Die of the Month. I'm going to be showing you how I stamp them. And the great thing is I can stamp a whole load of sentiments and die cut them all together, because the die cut, the die that comes with the Clear Stamp and Die of the Month allows me to die cut all the sentiments together. Because the stamp is quite new, I'm using a eraser to get rid of the sheen that comes on a new stamp to make sure it can take on the ink. Using some anti-static powder to get rid of any static on the card, and then inking the stamp and using my stamp press tool to make sure the image is nicely impressed onto the card before I remove it from my stamping platform, and I sprinkle some clear embossing powder. So I've used the VersaFine, which is a pigment ink, and it can remain wet for a little while, and I sprinkle some embossing powder, and I'm going to melt that embossing powder with my heat tool so the ink will not smear, and better still, the sentiment will have a nice shine to it. And I'll use the die that comes with the clear stamp of die of the month, and I can die cut all of the sentiments together, and I've got a gazillion sentiments to use for subsequent cards. Also, having these dies that coordinate with the sentiments allows me to have many layers that I can layer up the sentiments and place it onto the card. But here I'm using a bit of a foam strip to give the sentiment a little bit of dimension, and I've got a sentiment here that says Happy Father's Day, Dad. I just like the simplicity of this sentiment, and do let me know what you think of the card. I go on to show you similar compositions of this die set, but I use various different backgrounds. So I'm just adhering this card panel onto the card base with double-sided tape, and the card is pretty much done. The next card here, I'm just going to show you a similar compilation, but I'll see a different background where I'm not doing any inking of the background, but I'm just using colored cardstock to create the base, which is the waterline, as well as the background, which is going to be a bit of orangey yellow sky line, if you like. Here I've got a sentiment slightly different because I'm going to be using a sentiment more for brothers. I like the versatility of having two images of two guys. In fact, you can use it as various relationships, as I mentioned earlier. It can be father, son, brothers, cousins, grandson, grandfather, etc. And here I've got two brothers here, and I've used the sentiment from the Glimmer of the month, which I've already hot foiled in advance, and you'll see me doing that in my next video. So this background here, I'm going to be doing some clouds in the background, and I'm using a cloud stencil which I've had forever, and I'm using 4 different blue inks from the Distress Ink range. So I've got Chipped Sapphire, Faded Jeans, Stormy Sky, and Tumbled Glass. I like using distress inks because I've got a great storage system for my distress inks, which I've showed you in a previous video, and I'll put that link in the video. Because I've got a great storage system for these inks, I can use them really quickly. They're quickly accessible and easy enough to put away as well. These are the 2 key elements you need to be able to have in your craft products. You can get to them easily, and you can put them away just as easily, so you can have a nice clean crafting area that you don't get too cluttered and confused where everything goes. So I think that's quite key in your crafting products. So this is a slightly different background that I've created, and you can see me pretty much compile the same thing, but this is a single person, and this sentiment comes from the bonus item if you get the deluxe caboodle set. I've hot foiled this better press plate, and I like the sentiment, may your catch be legendary. See, as I told you, all the sentiments goes with the theme so beautifully, and I do really like having that possibility to put those sentiments. Here's a slightly different background here, and this is mainly for the golf element of it. So I'm going to be just doing a little bit of ink blending for the sky, and I've used the same stencil to create that sky, and I've got the landscape, which is green, so it's more of that golf green background, if you like, and then just going to put the golf ball with the golf stick. Pretty simple compilation for the golf element of it, but I do wish I'd done a retirement card as well, because I do need one quite soon. So it's something that you can do with a retirement card as well, or even a holiday card, because many people go on golfing holidays as well. So really versatile. It's one of those sets that you can use probably all year round, because it's one of those sets, especially when we all, at least me, struggle to make cards for the males in our lives. This is a great set because you can use it time and again all through the year to make various cards for different occasions. I really hope you find a lot of inspiration in this video and the various cards that I've created. Let me know what you think. I've already done a video for the stitching die of the month, and you can see that in my YouTube channel, and I'll also put that link in the description below so you can check it out. I do like using double-sided tape when I adhere the card panel onto the card base. It's just an individual preference because I don't like to have it saturated with liquid glue, because sometimes it can get a little bit too much glue and it get a bit lumpy. This sentiment is also from the bonus item, which I've hot foiled because it goes so well with the golfing theme. I have a whole in one kind of day. I like that. So I have a great day basically. I also make one other card with this golf theme as well, and I'll be showing you that shortly. Here are all the cards that I've created with a small die of the month. You saw me create this card and the sentiments from the clear stamp of the month. And this card's got a slightly different background. The sentiment is also from the clear stamp of the month to my amazing dad. It's a great Happy Father's Day card. And you saw me put this card together. The sentiment is from the Glimmer of the month. It is for a brother. So two brothers. It can be a birthday card or just a card to a brother. And this card, the sentiment is from the Caboodle, Deluxe Caboodle bonus item set. And here's the card that I put together. The sentiment is from that bonus item set as well. And the final card is for another golf card. I've done some ink blending in the background. And the sentiment is from the Caboodle set as well, I think. Now I'm going to show you all of the large die of the month here. Again, so many different components. And what I tend to do is I'm going to show you it bit by bit because there's quite a few different characters to this. You've got a Barney looking character. You've got a little dog. You've also got lots of flowers. So I'm going to show you them separately. And I die cut them all in white card. And I'm going to put it onto a sticky mat, which is I'm going to be using my stamp wheel from Altenew to do ink blending. And again, for all of that, I'm going to be using the distress inks to do it. So this is a little bit of a dinosaur character, and I'm going to be coloring it quite pinky, of a girly card, and I end up making a card for a granddaughter. It can be for a daughter, it can be for anyone really, and more of a girly card, I think, with the little frilly skirt that goes with it. And I'm using a couple of distress inks, purpley colors. I've got Wilted Violet as well as Villainous Potion, a bit of a light and dark with the shadow for that inking. I like using this sticky mat to keep all my small die cuts in place. There are lots of sticky mats in the market and you could get your hands on them. The reason I use the stamp wheel is because I already have it. Rather than going getting another sticky mat, I tend to use my stamp wheel more for this purposes than anything else. It's quite an expensive option, to tell you the truth, because I don't really do much stamping with the stamp wheel. I tend to do it more for my ink blending because I do like using my stamping platform for my stamping. That's not to say it's not great for it. I just never got around to getting used to it. The little two bits there is little like ballet shoes that will go on the feet of that little dinosaur, and I've got that little tutu to go with it as well, and I'm using some bright pinks for it. And I also got a little crown, which I end up putting another layer for a gold crown. And the little piece for the eye here, I'm putting it onto the back of a post-it and then coloring it black. And I've placed a little bit of sticky tape behind the die cut so I can just place that eye in place. Later on I'll put a little bit of white on the eye with my white gel pen. So really quite easy to compile this. All of the bits there, they've got quite a nice etched line on the die cut when you die cut it, so you know exactly where to place all of the various die cuts. So easy to put together when you are compiling all of these separate elements. So this crown here, because I didn't want to ink the white cards, I just cut the element with some gold metallic card for the crown that will go on top of the head of the dinosaur. There, this is the bit that is easy enough to put together because there's etched lines that show you exactly how to adhere that piece together. I've used quite bold colors here because I wanted to make it for a little girl. So I thought using lots of bright pinks and purples would really go with the theme. I really hope you find this tutorial on how to compile these cards together quite useful. And all of the die cuts that come with the small die of the month, the large die of the month, can be used with the Glimmer of the month, can be used with the Better Press of the month, and I'll try and incorporate them when I use it. In fact, when you see me do a roundup of all my cards, I do put some of the flowers from this large die of the month onto my stitching die of the month. I've not shown them in this video, but when I do my final roundup of all the cards from March 2025, you will see them because the flowers are quite pretty and easy to be added. That's why I like having some nice flowers and foliage. You can add it to any card to give it that extra little cuteness or a little bit extra to the card. You can subscribe to Spellbinders Clubkits between the 6th and 27th of each month. And if it's gone, it's gone. So you might want to get your subscription in as quickly as possible so you're in a chance to get that subscription of the month. Sometimes they have it in the past kits, but sometimes they don't. So you may want to check that out quickly. This is me putting together the dog. So I've got all of the components that go with the same color on one side, and I'm just segregating how I want to color them. So I'm putting those die cuts into groups, if you like, and I'm using quite neutral colors for the color of the dog. You'll see me make another card. I don't show it in the video, but I use colored card. And I don't use your conventional colors, but you don't have to use the conventional colors that I'm using here for a doggy, but you can use different colors as well, as you will see. So here I'm using the Distress Inks, Black Soot, Old Paper, Antique Linen, and Walnut Stain. These are colors I don't normally use, but it's ideal for this dog die cut that I'm putting together. I hope, seeing how you compile or how you group the die cuts that go with the same color is useful to understand that. And sometimes you won't realize it the first time you use it, but by the time you do it the second time, you will know how to put your die cuts together so you can color them together, especially if you're using white card or if you're deciding what colors to die cut, what colored cardstock to die cut. And here's a little cap, a baseball cap that I'm coloring. I actually decide to use a different color in the middle, but I die cut a separate element later on, but that's easily done. So this cap is going to go on top of the dog as well. Let's make a couple of cards with the dog and a couple of cards with the flowers and a card with the dinosaur. So about just under half a dozen cards with the large die of the month. I think it's quite a versatile card. This particular die, my favorite is the flowers, which I'll be showing you shortly. I do like creating cards with flowers. That's my go-to. Everyone's got a personal preference, but that's just my preference. For this baseball cap here, I realized the best way is to start putting all the components one by one. Don't put the right and the left first and then leave the middle to the last. I think it's easier to use liquid glue, put them in sequence, and then adjust them as you see fit to make sure it fits well above the bill of the cap. So there you go. You've got that baseball cap nice and ready to be put onto the doggy. So now I'm going to compile the dog. Now the dog here is very easy because you've got etched lines. It's not very clear in the video, but there are etched lines on each of the die cuts that tells you exactly where each die cut will go to create that dog with those darker elements of it as well. So easy to put together. Don't let the many components of this die cut put you off. You see how easily you get a little cute dog face already. And that didn't take much thinking. I'm just following the etched lines. Nothing superior or nothing clever on my part, really. I'm just following the etched lines the designer has put in place for all of these die cuts, and I'm creating some amazing looking die cuts based on that. So there you go. All the clever bits, all the hard work's been done by Spellbinders. I'm just die cutting and putting them together, and I'm adding a little bit of extra twinkle, if you like, on the nose as well as the eyes with some white gel pen. So I'm using the Uni-Ball white pen here, and I'm putting the little tongue into that bit there under that die cut. So just adding, it's like the dog is panting a little bit. Dogs tend to have their tongue sticking out, so a little bit of pink there and the ball cap on it, and I've got a bone to go with it. So a very simple compilation of this particular doggy. You'll see me put all the cards together later on. I'm going to show you the next one. It's going to be all the flowers. So this is all the dies that come with the flowers, and I've die cut all of them and put them onto my sticky mat. I'm just showing you which dies I've used to die cut each of those elements, and I've kind of grouped them with all the greens together, the reds, the darker reds, as well as the yellow separately. So it's all about grouping them so it's easier to ink them if you're inking your die cuts. I decided to show you how you can use white cardstock to do all of the inking. And the benefit of doing inking this way is you can get additional colors onto it. You can have additional colors, especially for the greens, the foliage. I used 3 different colors. I used the mowed lawn, a bit of peacock feather, and forest moss to give it that shadow. And that's the benefit when you're inking your die cuts. You can give it a bit of a light and shadow, and your flowers and foliage can have a bit of additional colors. And that's how flowers in nature look anyway. Your foliage and your flowers have additional colors rather than just one color seamlessly through each of the components. And that's what I'm doing here. I hope that makes sense. Even if you die cut all of these elements with colored cardstock, you can also add a little bit of inking onto it to add a little bit of extra color. So it doesn't mean you only need to do it if you do it white card. You can also do it with colored cardstock. Because colored cardstock, you already got the base color. You probably just need to add a bit more inking for a bit of a shadow. So it just gives it that little bit more lift, a bit more of a 3D look in your die cuts. A lot of these elements here, it's quite intuitive to put them together. Not much you need to refer to anything. You just see that the petals, you got some light petals, some dark petals, and I've used 2 different colors. I've used the festive berry as well as the fired brick. I was going to use candied apple. I do have candied apple, but I can't seem to find that ink pad anywhere. This is where I need to get my craft area a little bit more organized, because I think I've lost that, because I had a mini ink pad for that and I'm not sure where it is now. Now the edges here, it's just a little bit of a turnover of the petals. I've gone with a dark color for it. I'm just wondering if you can use a light color for it as well, as long as it's a bit of a differentiation to the edges of the petal. And I'm just putting some liquid glue. When I attach all these elements, I prefer to use liquid glue. I just think it gives it a bit more time for me to move those die cuts into the right position. And just adding the center of these flowers with, again, all of the die cuts I've done, and I've colored this with some fossilized amber ink, and I'm just adding. Now the center, I'm putting a tiny die cut there that comes with it, but later on when I do compile the cut, I do put a little gem in the center, so just a little bit of a differentiation to the center of that flower. It's really up to you. You can use the center of the die cut, I can use a gem, and I used both actually, but I was just only because after that I thought it looks better with the gem. And here these little flowers, I do use these little flowers quite a bit on my other cards. You'll see I did add it to the stitching die of the month, which I've already done, but after that I added to it, and you'll see me show you those cards when I've done the compilation in the end. In some of the flowers, I did use a little bit of a dimensional tape to add that second petal. I don't do it here, but my other cards I do that. So I have got this dimensional tape that's only 1 millimeter. So it's not very depth. There's not much depth to it, but just a slight differentiation in the depth. And I use 1 millimeter dimensional tape for it. I do like these flowers and foliage, so I can see myself use it in the cards I'm going to do in my other videos, like for the embossing folders as well as the Glimmer, perhaps even the better press of the month, because these flowers, they do come in quite handy. And I think even if you use it more of a monotone color, or even like all white, I think it could look really pretty. So I'm probably going to experiment with this more in my next video, or next couple of videos. I've got 2 more videos that I'm going to come out. I'm a bit late this month. I've just got so much happening, but I will have these videos out by the end of March. So you'll see 2 more videos for these club kits that I'll be showing. One focusing on the better press, Glimmer of the month, and then I've also got another one that's probably going to show more on the embossing folders and on the wax seal of the month as well. This is the arch that comes with the large die of the month. So I cut a little bit of a frame first, and for the inner part of the frame, I'm going to use a lighter color. So the lighter color here, I'm going to use white. So I've attached 2 dies to do the frame, and I'm going to just take the inner die, cut a lighter blue for the background of the inner bit of that arch. Now the arch comes with it, and I put the flowers in it. Now I'm not a big fan of the arch, to be fair. I used it only in 1 card just to show you how I use it. I mean, it's nice, but the next card I do with the flowers, I don't use the arch. I just use the flowers on its own.
I like the flowers a lot, but I'm not a big fan of the arch. I think you can use it for different ways, and I might use it later on in my other videos, but certainly not for this video. I only used one card with the arch, and I just wanted to show you how I put it together. You'll see how I've die cut more flowers on the right, more of the orange and purples. I do another card with those flowers later on, and I'll show you at the end of the video how I've put that together. Here I'm just attaching each of those components with some liquid glue, but I also use some dimensional tape for those flowers just to give it a bit of a lift so it can still go to the post. I was quite keen to make sure all of these cards are going to be post friendly, because I do send quite a few cards via the post just to ensure that they can be done. And I just put all these 1mm dimensional tape, and I'm just adding all of the foliage and flowers as I go through them. So you can see the flowers and the foliage, they've got slightly different colors, and you can see the difference when you put it on the right with those flowers with colored cardstock and those flowers that have been inked. It's really up to you, but I like to have that differentiation or show you different ways that you can use that. I really hope you find my videos useful. I would love to hear from you. Do check out my other videos in my YouTube channel, Angela Brennan Creations, and you also can check all of the products I use in the description below. I'd love to hear from you if you've got any questions, any suggestions, any criticisms. I'm always happy to take some constructive criticism, and I'm happy to respond to any questions you may ask. I'm adding here the gems. This is the Color Essential gems called Gold Mix, and it's self-adhesive. It's got a backed self-adhesive, and I just attach them. And this sentiment comes from the Better Press of the Month, which I have hot foiled. I like to hot foil my sentiments, so all of my Better Press sentiments, I generally tend to hot foil them. I don't letterpress them, if you like. I think they look better hot foiled. And here is a card I'm doing for the doggy. I'm just creating a bit of a mask. So I've die cut using the landscape die with some really thin paper, if you like, and I'm going to be using it as a mask to do the differentiation between the ground and the sky. So I'm using a couple of greens here for some ink blending with a mowed lawn as well as forest moss distress inks to do the grounding. So there's a base on which the dog will sit on, and then I'll use the other bit to do the sky. So I just kept it really simple because I wanted to have a differentiation rather than put another die cut there. So I'm using the other part of it to block out the green of the ground, and I'm going to use some blues for the sky. Nice and easy. I've got the stormy sky as well as the tumble glass to do the background or the backdrop for the sky. You see me do this ink blending quite a few times here. I like ink blending my backgrounds because it gives me that versatility and that freedom to create the colors that I want in the background, because sometimes choosing the right colors for my cardstock can take me forever and I may not even have the right colors. So with inking it's a little bit easier, and I can let the sky fade away quite easily. Now I think there's a lot of white, so I tend to do I'm going to be doing a little bit of a splatter. So I use a bit of chipped sapphire to do splatter. To protect my craft space, I use my splat box from Rangers. I've used it for a long time now. As you can see, there's so much splatter in that box. It's really good to protect your craft space. Leave it to dry aside, and then I just need to attach my dog. I've got a bit of dimensional tape because there are so many layers of that card, and the cardstock, the colored cardstock is the cardstock that I've used is quite thick. Not the colored cardstock, but the white cardstock which I've inked. So I've used some dimensional tape at the back to give it that little bit of extra depth. This sentiment here I've die cut from the Glimmer of the Month, which I've hot foiled and die cut with the die cut that comes with it. I love the fact that these die cuts come with coordinating dies. Nice and easy for me to die cut, and there you go, card's done. This is the second card that I'm doing with the foliage or the foliage and flowers. I've die cut them all with colored cardstock. I'm going to be adhering them a bit of a background with tumble glass,
I'm just going to put them all together without the arch. So you saw me put them together. It's nice and easy. So it's just a matter of just arranging the flowers the way you would arrange a bouquet, if you like. Put them all together. It takes a little bit of moving it around until you're happy, and then you get a little bunch that you like. You can make this as big or as small as you want. This is on the card base of an A6 card, which measures 14.8 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters. But you can do it on a much bigger card as well. There you go. And I've used the sentiment from the Better Press of the Month, which I have hot filed. You're a true friend. I really like how this card turned out. I used the same arch here, without the frame, just the arch on its own, to do the card for the little dinosaur. I'm going to use my T-ruler to make sure it's nice and straight on the card front. It's a light blush pink that I've used for it because I've got the little dinosaur that's going to be in purple and pink, and I just wanted a really subtle background. And this sentiment here is from the clear stamp of the month, which I've used for my granddaughter. You're our greatest joy. I really like this sentiment. This is a nice girly card for a little girl. I really like how all the cards I turned out. Here are all the cards I've created. This is the card with the foliage which I've created. I'm definitely going to be using this flowers and foliage in my subsequent videos for this month's club kits. And this is the little doggy. I really hope you've enjoyed all the cards that you've seen me put together here. And this little doggy here, I've got not conventional colors, but I've got two little doggies that you've put together. I like the way they've turned out. And here are all the cards I've created with the large die of the month. And here are close-up pictures of all the cards I've created with a small die of the month, as well as a large die of the month. I've got all of the links in the description below, as well as the links to my other Spellbinders Club Kit for March 2025, which is a stitching die of the month. And I'll continue to put all the other Club Kit videos that I do for this month there, so you can check it out as and when I get it released. Thank you so much for stopping by. Happy crafting, and I'll catch you in my next video. Do take care.